What's up, everyone? Welcome back to yet another reaction video, deep diving more into New Zealand. I've been enjoying the journey so far. Hopefully, if you've been experiencing it with us, you've been enjoying it as well. Before we get started in this video today, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please consider doing so. It helps me out tremendously. It's free to you, doesn't cost a dime, and you can unsubscribe at any time. The video we have today is 10 essential tips and things to know before visiting New Zealand. It is by the channel Peter and Yen. It looks like it was published a couple years back, but I'm sure everything still applies. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and keep diving into this wonderful country and see what they have in store for us. 10 essential tips.
Yo, what's up everybody? So you're planning a trip to New Zealand. Well, Yen and I have 10 tips to share with you to make your trip a little bit easier.
How much easier it need to be when just coming and looking at that right there. That's gorgeous.
So my biggest tip for you if you're coming to New Zealand is have some idea of what you want to see in particular, because the North Island is extremely different from the South Island. In the North Island, you're going to find the three big city centres, Tauranga, Wellington and Auckland, as well as some geothermal pools in Rotorua, Hobbiton, which is a magical place, and you're also going to be able to reach the northmost accessible point, which is Cape Reinga. All of it is super beautiful, and of course don't forget the picturesque beaches that are dotted all along the coastline up in the North Island. Whereas in the South, you've got some amazing rugged landscapes. You've got Queenstown, of course, which is world famous for the Remarkables Mountains and the beautiful lakes in the town, as well as being able to see Milford Sounds and glaciers. Christchurch is the second largest city in New Zealand, and you're also going to be able to find that in South Island. You might even want to do both of the islands, but you're just going to have to plan your time accordingly because there's a lot of space to cover in between.
Fair enough.
Here in New Zealand, we've got 4 different seasons, and it's the complete opposite of the Northern Hemisphere. So when the Northern Hemisphere is in winter, we're in summer, and what I've got on is perfect for summer. Shorts and a t-shirt, some flippy floppies, and you're good. But in spring and autumn, it gets a little bit colder, and so here in the North Island, a hoodie will be fine, but in the South Island, you may need one more extra layer maybe. And of course in winter it does get pretty chilly, and we're going to get Yen to demonstrate that.
Maybe something like this, especially if you're really scared of the cold like I am. But in the South Island it gets way colder, sometimes even into the negatives.
Cold weather doesn't bother me too much, so I don't think I'm going to have to worry about dressing warm when it comes to this.
Remember to book popular activities and accommodation in advance, especially during peak season, which is summer here in New Zealand. For example, when we went to Hobbiton, you can check that video out here, we had to book our banquet tour dinner about a month and a half in advance just to be able to get seats for that activity. So
Holy cow.
Book early.
Okay.
New Zealand is known for being clean and green, and we really want to keep it that way.
And in fact, when a family of UK people came to New Zealand one time and left trash like everywhere, New Zealand was so outraged that they publicly put them on the front of like the New Zealand Herald and stuff like that. Headlines. So
you don't want to do that.
We get
don't litter.
If you start littering.
That just goes for everywhere, I thought. Don't litter. Yes, I need to learn some Kiwi slang. I was recommended that in the video by myself. I will learn some, I promise you.
Pick up a couple of Kiwi slangs, especially if you're going to have a yarn with us Kiwis, because otherwise we might sound a little munted to you guys. And there's some common phrases like, yeah, nah, she'll be right, which are kind of difficult to explain, but one of our favorite YouTubers, How To Dad, makes a really mean-ass video about it. You can check it out over here. But bugger, there's a lot of Kiwi slang words that you kind of have to get used to, especially if you've grown up living here. You just say them all the time anyway.
Very well video.
Although
Very
New
well
Zealand
put together
is
video on
generally
this.
a pretty safe country, you do still want to beware of petty thefts that can be a bit of an issue here, especially for motor vehicles. So don't leave any of your belongings or valuables in plain sight inside your car. And always remember, lock up, especially when you're visiting all these tourist sites.
Self-explanatory.
The most flexible way to explore New Zealand at your own pace is by renting a car and going around that way. Otherwise, you can get a motorhome. We have a fantastic camper van infrastructure here in New Zealand, and that will allow you to explore the smaller and rural towns, which always hold some great gems. Another option is by going on a scenic rail. For the North Island, you have Auckland
Whoa.
to Wellington, and for the South Island, Picton to Christchurch, Christchurch
Isn't
to
it like
Greymouth. And here in
3-ish
New
or so
Zealand, you
hours
drive
in
on
between the
left
two
side of
islands
road.
from a ferry?
And another way to get around is to do a hop-on, hop-off
What's the
bus
point of the
experience.
the
Do
roundabout
note, though,
there?
that
I
in
mean,
the
just
smaller towns, that public transport is almost non-existent, so that's going to be pretty difficult to get around there. Last note, Ubers and taxis here are very expensive, so just be aware.
So one of the big industries here in New Zealand is agriculture. We've also got a lot of beautiful forests, and so if you're entering New Zealand, we're really particular about whether or not you can bring any food. Basically, if you bring anything that you can eat, it's better to declare, because if you get caught with something and you haven't declared it, if it's like even a piece of an apple, you can get up to a $400,000 to $100,000 fine for severe cases. Also, if you've got any outdoor equipment or tramping boots or things like that with some mud on it, you might have to be forced to clean it before you come into the country, because Kari dieback disease is a major issue here and we're trying to prevent that. Just another thing to know. One of the big things that you do need to think about when coming into New Zealand is how much your budget is going to be, because things are kind of expensive here. Even a cheap backpackers will cost you up to $20 to $50 per night, depending on the season that you come to New Zealand. And a hotel will typically cost you anywhere from $100 to $200 per night.
That's not too much more than here in the US, but this is 3 years ago.
Small towns, it's a lot cheaper. If you're staying in the bigger towns, well, it's going to be a lot more expensive. Other things you might want to budget are also transportation. So transportation could cost anywhere for $75 to fill up a gas tank on a small car, up to $150 for a big car. So thinking about all those kind of things, you then need to add on things like activities and meals.
I know
Meals
the
typically range from
subtitles are in the
$15
way,
up
but
to
it's
$50
saying what it is
depending on
US
if
dollar
you get a
here.
drink or not. When you do go to some of the more fancier restaurants, they do have an option of whether or not you do want the tip. You don't have to though. I would probably budget on the low end $100 to $150. That includes activities and transport and accommodation and
not
food,
that
of
bad.
course.
It's
And
really
on the
not that
high
bad.
end, probably budgeting around about $150 to $250.
Yes.
Finally, New Zealand, aside from being home to some absolutely picturesque landscapes, is also a great place for adrenaline seekers. Things like skydiving, which both Yen and I have done before, as well as being the birthplace of bungee jumping. You can also do things like the luge, zip lining across some beautiful scenery. It's just a fantastic place for those people looking for a little bit extra on their holidays. And so if you guys have enjoyed this, don't forget to smash the like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment, we always like hearing from you. And we're also going to leave some other videos here in a playlist, which includes a detailed cost of living.
This is a great video. Go subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I definitely will be, just because they look like they're,
are famous to us Kiwis.
you know, trying to teach
Right now, I'm
25
gonna go
iconic
search
Kiwi
for some cockles.
things.
You can get 50 cockles per person.
Didn't mean to do that.
That's my catch.
Nice. Okay, well, folks, that was a great video. I actually kind of shocked by some of the things, you know, like the obvious, you know, don't litter. That should just be for everybody. But, you know, some of the things I wasn't expecting the prices to be as high, but they kind of look like they're somewhat close and similar to the US prices, I guess. But the thing, like, taking an apple could get you up to $100,000 fine for an apple. That's just, it's mind-boggling. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the reaction. Let me know in the comments down below, since this video is 3 years old, if anything has changed with it, if the laws are as strict as they are, if they're still, you know, or if they've tamed them down some. But like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you all so much for being here. And we will be reacting to more videos from this channel as long as, you know, they allow it, because that was informational, that was well put together, that was a good time. So thank you all so much for being here, and we'll see you on the next one.